Today on the news and why it matters, Bernie Sanders lashes out at a top Democratic strategist for daring suggest that he is too extreme. Also, the Trump campaign is destroying fundraising records in the wake of impeachment and the coronavirus. Apparently, it's a lot worse than we thought over there in China. We've got a lot to get into. Hold on to your butts. It starts right now. Welcome to the news and why it matters. I am Sarah Gonzalez, today joined by coronavirus expert Jason Buttrill.
Sitting in the big boy chair today.
So weird. I was tired of people like making a thing about where they sat. I was like, I don't care where you sit, just pick a spot. There's no assigned seating, pick a damn spot. And Jason wants to brag that he's in the big boy spot. So, okay, Jason.
Gotta do it when I can.
Whatever. Thank you, Jason. We'll get to you when we get to the coronavirus.
Hope Hicks story.
The coronavirus topic, even though Jason wants to talk about Hope Hicks every chance he can get. John Ruggiero, social media guru of The Blaze, social media coordinator John Ruggiero, and political commentator Aubrey Irolls back in studio. It's good again to have some estrogen running through the building. We got a lot to get into. First, we want to thank our sponsor, Rough Greens. So, if you love your dog and you are like me and you pay way too much for their dry dog food, you're like, this is $10 million, so it must be the best thing that I can feed my dog to make sure that they have all of the nutrients that they need. Yeah. Well, you're buying stuff that has been sterilized, which means that they are killing all of the good things that your dog needs, like the enzymes and the probiotics and the microbacteria, all the things that your dog needs. They're not getting it from that food anymore because it's dead. All right, so this is where Rough Greens by VitaSmart comes in. It is not a dog food. It is a supplement that you sprinkle on top of your dog's food, and it brings back all of those live nutrients that are necessary for your dog's superior health. Again, you could be buying the most expensive dog food on the market, and they are not getting the nutrients that they need that Rough Greens will give them. Also, if you've got a picky eater, this is great for picky eaters. The dogs eat it right up. It tastes delicious, and it also makes sure that they are in optimal health. If you want to see your dog thrive again, if you love your dog, really, just go to roughgreens.com/blaze. That is RUFF greens.com/blaze, or you can call 833-MY-DOG-33, roughgreens.com/blaze. I mean, if you love your dog. If you don't like your dog, I guess don't go there. But if you love your dog, if you're a good dog owner, you'll go to Rough Greens. All right. So Bernie Sanders is not happy about some comments made about him by top Democratic strategist James Carville. Now, Bernie issued a response on Anderson Cooper, but let me just go over the initial statement that was made by James Carville. He said, the turnout in the Iowa caucus was below what we expected, what we wanted. Trump's approval rating is probably as high as it's been. This is very bad. I mean, to him, maybe. And now it appears the party can't even count on votes. What am I supposed to think? I'll just say it this way. The fate of the world depends on the Democrats getting their S together and winning in November. We have to beat Trump. And so far, I don't like what I see. And a lot of people I talk to feel the same way. He went on to talk about open borders, decriminalizing illegal immigration. Bernie Sanders, you've got Bernie Sanders talking about letting criminals and terrorists vote from jail cells. It doesn't matter what you think about any of that or if there are good arguments. Talking about that is not how you win a national election. Well, Bernie was not happy with these comments made by James Carville. He went on Anderson Cooper on CNN, and here is what Bernie had to say in response to the accusation that he is too extreme.
James, in all due respect, is a political hack who said very terrible things when he was working for Clinton against Barack Obama. I think he said some of the same things. Look, we are taking on the establishment. This is no secret to anybody. We're taking on the wall. I guess the former head of Goldman Sachs attacked me yesterday.
Yeah, he had
We're
some
taking on Wall Street. He did, yeah, Wall Street. And the insurance companies don't like me. And you know what? The pharmaceutical industry, which is charging us 10 times more for the same drugs they sell in Canada, they don't like me either. Nor does the fossil fuel industry, because their product happens to be destroying our planet. Nor does the military industrial complex or the prison industrial complex. We are taking on Trump, the Republican establishment, Carville, and the Democratic establishment.
No, it seems to me that I think that there's an underlying pattern here that just like private companies don't like Bernie Sanders.
No one that makes money likes Bernie. Apparently,
Capitalists
you make
don't
money.
like Bernie Sanders is kind of the theme that I'm sensing here. I'm not too sure that it would be something that I personally would brag about, but hey, I'm not a communist, so what do I know? Jason, your thoughts?
What I love about this is you're getting this rant from Carville, but this is like a window into the mind of every single, probably 90% of Democrats right now. And it's actually a small minority, I believe, that are these radical lefties. But for some reason, they've been able to get, they've been able to make the AOC narrative or the Bernie narrative the narrative of the Democratic Party, and everyone kind of sees that. And I was reading this great article about, I think it was New Hampshire, and they were talking about how there was voters that for the first time ever, they did not know who they were going to vote for going up to the night of the election. They're like, I don't know. That's how conflicted they were. There was this one woman was saying, look, if you're advocating for like erasing college debt, which was like half of them up there, then I worked my butt off. Like I'm a Democrat, but I worked my butt off, to put my kids through college. So she literally did not know who to vote for, going all the way up into the poll. That's how they all are right now. Bernie Sanders got 50% less votes in New Hampshire this election, than he did in 2016. He had way more mojo back then, but now, then there's a little bit more, competition. They're like, well, crap. Now there's a choice. I don't have to go to the woman that I think should be in prison, Hillary Clinton. So they all voted for him. Now there's a little bit what they think might be moderate, even though none of them are moderate. They've got a few more options. Oh, by the way, Trump got 24% more votes than he did.
Right. Well, and I mean, there's something to be said for that, John, because, he's an incumbent. He's obviously going to win the Republican primary. Yeah. What is the driving force of, people getting up and going to the polls just to vote for President Trump when he is the incumbent? What do you think?
They're fired up for him. So he's got his base all fired up. Impeachment has definitely fired them up. I think what you're seeing, though, is a similar thing happening on the left with Bernie Sanders. Because just as Trump harnessed the media hate that a lot of people had, now that's starting to turn on the Bernie fans. And they're seeing how MSNBC, CNN are all turning on him and bringing up these old stories and all that kind of stuff. So now they're being like, oh, wait, the media isn't our friend either. So now he's utilizing that same power to push out his vote, too. So we'll see if it works.
Yeah, which, I mean, the last people you want with some sort of conspiracy theory against you are the Bernie bros, I feel, Aubrey. They already are.
Vicious.
They're vicious. They are already, and maybe rightfully so, they already have some, bad feelings about 2016 and the way that things got taken from Bernie, how they, that's how they feel. And that's not really who you want, I think, banging down your door, especially when the field staffers are telling people they're going to go set Milwaukee on fire. But what do you make of Bernie trying to respond to James Carville that he is not too extreme?
I mean, I feel like probably the worst argument to make when you're saying how you're not extreme is how many people hate you. I mean, right?
That's a good point.
People that are moderate and in the middle usually aren't hated by that many people.
Right.
And I think what's going on with Bernie is I think he thought that he was going to walk in and the field was going to be his and there weren't going to be any better candidates. And I think as we saw in Iowa, where basically him and Buttigieg were tied. And I think the entire party went, wow, we never even gave this guy a shot. And now what we're seeing is I think he's kind of running around like a chicken with his head cut off, and he's freaking out because he has lost his momentum, and I just don't think he's going to get this nomination, and that terrifies him.
Go ahead.
I was supposed to say, you think how terrified they are of Bernie Sanders winning this nomination. There's a very good chance, unless Bloomberg just does something crazy on Super Tuesday. I think there's a very high chance they go towards a broker convention because it's just going to be so close.
Yeah.
But think how terrified they are of running. Imagine running a socialist against Donald Trump. An angry socialist against Donald Trump. He's going to eat him alive, and all he has to do is just talk about hit socialism nonstop. Hit socialism, taking away your choices, all these things. Look, if you're in the middle of the road Democrat, you're going to vote for Trump probably 9 times out of 10.
Well, and that's what I keep trying to just leave a little bit of room for. You look at Bernie Sanders got 75,000 votes in New Hampshire. And then, but you have to factor in, okay, but this was when the Democrats had different options. Obviously, there will be Democrats who voted for Pete Buttigieg, who voted for Amy Klobuchar, who voted for some of the other candidates who will vote for Bernie instead. But they're not going to be passionate voters, right? I don't think that people other than Bernie's rabid base are going to be like, I have to get to the polls, come rain, wind, or shine, with these other candidates if that's who they're backing at this particular time. So I wonder how many of those other voters will actually go out and cast the vote for someone like Bernie if he in fact is the nominee.
Yeah, well, it's very telling if you just look if you look at the 2016 numbers. You would have thought that Bernie, I mean, he was doing awesome, last election. You would have thought that since Clinton's not there, he would have picked up a lot of that. But I mean, even though Clinton, I felt weird calling some of these candidates moderates because none of them are.
There's nothing else to call them,
There's
right?
Nothing else to call
the
them.
most moderate possible candidate.
Yeah,
right?
That's also how they
available.
move the opportune window, because they will now say these people are the moderates, and if we just accept that, then the next cycle it's going to move even further to the left. So
Right.
They actually call Tulsi Gabbard a moderate. I'm like, what are you talking about? Like,
There's a lot of
she
Republicans that
joined the
call her
Bernie
moderate.
Sanders campaign
Yes.
in 2016.
Yes.
I mean, she wants the same thing as all of them: universal health care, everything.
And
I can't think of one single moderate. It's crazy.
I do think, too, that what's scary is that I think Buttigieg is being kind of portrayed as some sort of moderate-ish alternative to crazy socialist Bernie Sanders. And when you look at his policies, they are not what you would call moderate in any sort of objective sense. All right, just for funsies, let's play this Bernie Sanders montage. He says he's not extreme. It's just that I just want all of these normal, rational things for America. Yet, apparently they were able to make a montage that shows basically he just loves communism and commies. Watch.
It's funny, sometimes American journalists talk about how bad a country is because people are lining up for food. That's a good thing. In other countries, people don't line up for food. The rich get the food and the poor starve to death. As a socialist, the word socialism does not frighten me. I think when we were in Moscow, for example, I think most of the people here also were extremely impressed by their public transportation system. The stations themselves were absolutely beautiful, including many works of art, chandeliers that were beautiful. It was a very, very effective system. Also, I was impressed by the youth programs that they have, their palaces of culture for the young people, a whole variety of programs for young people, and cultural programs which go far beyond what we do in this country.
To China and its leadership is, if I'm not mistaken, they have made more progress in addressing extreme poverty than any country in the history of civilization. Okay, so they've done a lot of things for their people.
Aubrey, I can't think of anything or anyone who is more out of touch with what communism and socialism actually means.
I really think he's just preying on the fact that his rabid base doesn't know history very well.
Yeah.
I mean, there's no way you can look at these regimes, and that's really the best name for them when he tries to act like some of them were kind of democratic. You can't, there's no way a rational human being can look at that and go, this is a system that we should emulate. It's insanity. I actually wonder whether or not he's got a mental illness at this point. It's crazy.
His fan base, they believe in a revisionist history.
Yeah.
So to them, they remember history, but it's like gulags, like we saw with that Project Veritas. They thought that was a good thing. They thought the CIA distorted what that was. Never mind that I think it was estimated 10 million people died in the gulag. But whatever's good for re-education. They were also talking about like construction projects. I can't remember the specific one he said, but I looked it up, and there was, again, millions of people that were forced into the labor to do those projects. But of course, when you're part of a collective, it don't matter. Whatever's best for the overall collective, we have to lose 2 million people. That's that system.
Yeah. All right, back in a minute. The bread lines one kills me.
I know.
Before we get back into the conversation, we would like to thank our new sponsor of the show, Bambee. So Bambee is there for those of you who maybe run a small business or a medium-sized business, and you realize that when you run your business, HR issues can literally be the death of your company. So, maybe you have a wrongful termination suit, minimum wage requirements, I can't speak today, labor regulations, and it's really hard to get an HR manager in there. The salaries are not cheap. You're talking about an average of $70,000 a year. So Bambee, that is spelled B-A-M-B-E-E, was created specifically for you, the small business owner. They have dedicated HR managers. They can craft HR policy. They maintain your compliance. They do all of these HR things. And by the way, if you offer insurance to your employees, because I deal with this all the time in my other job as an insurance broker, it's so hard to work with the small businesses. You've got a small business. It's the same person doing payroll, HR, office manager, and they don't know what the rules are. They have no idea what they're doing. You can help this person in your office and make sure that you protect your company from any unwanted lawsuits. You can go to Bambee. Go to Bambee, BAMBEE.com/matters. You can schedule a free HR audit right now. That is Bambee.com/matters right now to schedule your free HR audit. All right, this is starting at $99 a month. You can get their service. It's a free HR audit, but $99 a month starting at to get this service that is going to protect you guys, make sure that you guys are in compliance with all HR matters is totally worth it. Bambee.com/matters. Go there now to schedule your free HR audit. And I'm not talking like Bernie Sanders free. I'm talking like for real free. Okay. All right. Before we move on to the Republican side of the 2020 election, Joe Biden. Joe Biden is having a very tough week. Obviously, he had disastrous results in Iowa and then again in New Hampshire. And he just said, I'm just going to go on to South Carolina. I know we had an event planned in New Hampshire, but we're just going to keep pushing on. God bless him. He still has very positive outlook. He was just on The View today saying he is going to be the candidate to defeat Donald Trump. I'm not really sure how that happens, but I mean, hey, it's not impossible. I'm not saying it couldn't. I don't personally see the path for it. And apparently a lot of his big-time Democratic donors are now prepared to jump ship and throw their money behind someone else. So he's got a lot of New York heavyweights that have been donating to his campaign, presumably because he is the establishment candidate, so he would be the one that they would back. And one of the donors said there's a great deal of concern. It wasn't expected that he would perform great in Iowa or New Hampshire, but we did not anticipate that he would fare this poorly. It was a significant decline. Another one said, this is horrendous. We're all scared. I think we're going to make it to South Carolina. I know we're supposed to say we're going to and we're going to win, but I just don't know. That was apparently from an advisor, which I don't think that's what you want in your campaign if your advisors are like, I mean, we're supposed to say, yeah, go Joe, but I don't think it's going to happen. Jason, your thoughts?
The writing is on the wall. If you go by historic precedent, you've never lost both states and then become the nominee.
Yeah.
But this is weird. I would be advising him to stay in it because, I am utterly shocked that he screwed this up this badly. I'm going to own it. Remember, I've been saying since the beginning that I thought he could literally fall asleep on the debate stage and walk away with this nomination.
Well, maybe he should have.
Maybe he should have. Then he wouldn't have looked as incompetent.
Right.
Yeah, because it seemed like he couldn't even form a sentence.
Yeah.
So I'm utterly shocked. I don't think he's going to continue to do this badly. The amount of delegates that have been doled out is actually very, very minuscule. Mm-hmm. So he does have a shot if he can turn something around somehow once they go into Super Tuesday. But I mean, he's donors. This is the weird thing about Sanders' campaign. Biden's campaign is he's never even really cared about fundraising.
Yeah.
It was from the get-go. He didn't really have much money. Didn't really care. We were like, does he even really want to run for president?
Right. Every time he was asked to make his case for why you should vote for him, he was like, nah, pass.
He might be asking his donors to back away. Like, guys, throw me a bone here. I want out of this.
I just want to go home.
I just want to go home, please.
I just want to sleep. Really, honestly. John, what are your thoughts?
It's hard to feel bad for Joe Biden because everyone told him not to do it. Obama said, Joe, you don't have to do this, but he did it anyway, and now we're seeing what happens when he runs. So I think the bigger issue, though, is when you have moderates like Klobuchar or Pete Buttigieg, moderates.
Yeah.
Thank you.
They're not going to get any play until Joe Biden drops out, or they're not going to see that rise that they really need. So if Joe Biden doesn't drop out, it's probably going to be Bernie Sanders.
So John brings up a good point. Who do you see Joe Biden's people going to once he does finally? I mean, obviously he's going to have to drop out of the race pretty soon, right? Once he finally drops out of the race, who do his supporters go to?
I think they're going to Buttigieg.
Okay.
I think that Bernie is so far out there for that group of people, and I believe that's one of the reasons why Biden even ran, is they're looking at the field going, hey, we need somebody who's kind of here in the middle, who isn't really speaking the crazy commie stuff. And he jumped up because, again, I don't think they thought that Mayor Pete was going to do as well as he's doing. So I really do think that those people go over to him if...
Do you think any go to Klobuchar, Jason?
From Biden?
Yeah.
I probably would agree with Buttigieg,
Yeah.
this is hilarious because Mayor who? Like, has anyone ever heard of this guy before that? That's how hilarious this feels, how screwed they are. You've got a socialist, another socialist, Warren, and then you've got some small town mayor no one's heard of. And then you got Klobuchar.
Right.
I mean, oh my gosh, like Trump's got to be like, he doesn't drink, but he's got to be sipping it a little bit, like, all right.
Which that's what, I mean, I got to hand it to Biden. His attack ad on Pete Buttigieg was hilarious. He's like, Joe Biden was out there being the vice president and doing all these vice presidential things, and Pete Buttigieg was the mayor hanging lights. And you really, you listen to it and you're like, wow, this doesn't make me want to vote for Biden, but man, it makes Pete Buttigieg look really bad. So we kind of touched on the Trump campaign, how well they're doing right now, just judging off of how many people came out and voted for him as the incumbent in New Hampshire. His fundraising kind of shows the same tune. It is off to a staggeringly good start in 2020. They are shattering fundraising records. Pro-Trump groups raised over $60 million in January. They have more than $200 million on hand. And these actually, just for comparison purposes, they double what former President Barack Obama's campaign and the DNC had at the same point in 2012.
So you know who saw those numbers also? Nancy Pelosi, once she was like holding on to those articles of impeachment.
Yeah.
And she's like, I don't know, maybe we should just rip those bad boys up. This is what you get.
Yeah.
Yes.
This is what you get. #resist gave you this.
Yep.
Lay with it. I love it.
Yeah, John?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know which candidate is going to be able to get that same type of money that Trump
Right.
is getting. I mean, Biden, his donors are already fleeing, and then Bernie's donors are mostly small donors, and
Yes.
same thing with
And
Warren.
live in their parents' basement.
Yeah. So it's hard to imagine who's going to get the war chest that Trump has and be able to compete. So.
Well, Warren's are, you know, there was that story yesterday that Warren went on television and said, well, I just got a $3 donation from someone who said that she only had $6 in her bank account, but she wanted to give me something. And I'm like, lady, give that woman her money back. That is not a good investment.
Despicable.
And also very indicative of how she would like to run the federal government. It's just like, we don't have the money, but we're going to do it anyway. Aubrey, really quickly, what do you make of Trump's fundraising?
I think it's the impeachment effect. I really think that was one of the stupidest things that they could have done. And I just think they cannot see through their just blind hatred for him. And I'm not saying there's not good reasons to hate him, because there certainly are, but they just went full force on this thing. And I don't think they realized that that was just going to take the base, and they were going to go, all right, this guy has to win now. We have to defeat these Democrats.
Yeah, I tend to agree with you guys. I think it was a major misstep on their part, and they will suffer the consequences at the ballot box in November. Back in a minute. Did you see this clip? Before we go into overtime, if you missed it yesterday, we are doing an anniversary contest for News and Why It Matters. Yesterday was our 2-year anniversary of the show, and in honor of that, we are doing a merch giveaway. So, write this down. All right, you ready? You have to. John Ruggiero is laughing.
I've done
it. He did do it, and
Yeah.
he screenshotted the worst picture of me ever and put it all over Twitter. Thanks a lot. I don't even know why you're on today. But all you have to do to enter the contest to win a t-shirt, a hat, or a mug from our Blaze Media shop. We've got all sorts of stuff there. It doesn't have to be show related. You can pick which kind of t-shirt, hat, or mug you want. All you got to do is go to wherever you get your audio podcast and hit subscribe to the News and Why It Matters. Take a screenshot of that. Tweet it to the hashtag News and Why Contest. That is News and Why Contest. By the way, additional bonus entry if you rate and review it. Take a picture of that too, add it onto it. And an additional bonus entry on top of that if you go subscribe to Sarah Gonzalez Unfiltered on YouTube. That's 3 entries per person. We're making it really easy for you guys, all right? News and Why Contest. Go submit your entry now.